uh, article. And there was a lot of reaction, a buzz. People were talking. Then I realized, hey, this thing is very interesting. And this is something that personally, it had never occurred to me. I didn't believe that there are people who may always want to take advantage of you in whichever way. But then ignorance is a big liability. Yeah. And I love saying that it's the greatest liability of mankind. So for some of us, we have a weakness of trust. We always trust people firsthand, and we believe that people should be nice. But that doesn't appear to be the case. In most cases, you realize that not everyone is as good as you expect them to be. The other day, one of my biggest fans, a cousin of mine, was telling me that there are people who know how to talk smoothly, smooth talkers. And you will trust them only to realize that they don't really mean everything they're saying. They are just looking for their way. And we said that part of this is not necessarily known to us, but it could be unhealthy competition and or unholy jealousy. And why the reasons it's difficult to identify Judas is they are not really the weak ones, or they are not really the ones that are unavailable, missing the meetings. We brought in the issue of Thomas. You see, like Thomas kept missing meetings. It is recorded that even after the resurrection of the Lord, for various meetings, for various conferences, he would be either so late or missing. He was a typical Kenyan. He was a typical Kenyan. Would be very late for a meeting or missing, have some other engagement. But he said to have evangelized the whole of, is it India? Yeah, so he was very productive, but would miss. But that is not the Judas we're talking about. For missing meetings, somebody can doubt whether things happened, whether they happened the right way, whether it's possible. But Judas is there almost all the times, contributes, brings ideas, and will always be looking like a very critical team member. I've seen this many times. In fact, in 2018, when we were trying to solve the issue of our building, it became apparent that everything we discussed in our strategy meetings were getting out. And we started wondering, how do these people get to know what we are discussing? And it was obvious. One of us was playing double role in this team and in the other team, for whichever reason we are yet to know. Judas will always appear, through which there is this quote of, there is always a lesson of a lifetime to learn in every betrayal. You see, so there are these subheadings, selfish versus selfless. Yeah, so these are some of the ways through which you may identify Judas. They are more of driven by selfish reasons. They look for quick fix, not long-term solutions, because they may not be there long enough. By the time this problem recurs, they will have gone elsewhere. Or I remember at one point when we were having a discussion with one of my mentors, he said, you know, I've learned to deal with these people, I've learned to identify them, because you identify these people who will always be product, they contribute very good ideas. They will never be there when you want to fix this thing. So be careful. And I later learned that it was true. Yes, they will never be there when you are trying to implement that idea. So the end justifies the means for them. It is what I want today. It is what I want now. It is not about how I get it. You see, whether they have to get rid of somebody on the way, whether they have to cut all the people so that they remain tall, it's their philosophy. And so what's your role? In this case, you said that it could be through training to correct the habit, or one-on-one discussion with the culprit. You can encourage open feedback where people can give suggestions. And it's very important to select carefully to be sure of who gets into your team, whether you believe in them, and whether you can depend on them. You can go back to the previous statements we had. And basically, that's everything. And there is this quote of, the only thing worse than training employees and losing them is not training them and keeping them. I believe that gives a better recap of the whole idea. And now we can share our thoughts about the same. Elsie, last time, I think you went with your thoughts.
Not really, but what I'm thinking right now as I reread is the fact that from the get-go, when you're recruiting, when you're starting off, you have to make it very, very clear what your standards are. What's your values? What's your mission? What's this that's important to you? Your value, mission, core values, all that. So that if somebody is not comfortable with them, then they need to scatter. And that I got from page 199. So when inducting new members into the team, it is vital to discuss the mission and the vision and the values, because most of us don't think of doing that. But when you set the standard and make it very clear, then people know what it is they need to live up to.
Very beautiful. Apparently, one thing I learned with organizations is they put up mission statement, they put up a vision, they put up core values, but they just put them because it's a fashion, I would say. It's something that people have, organizations have. Yeah, they want to put them in their profile, in their website. But enough of them do not even know, if you ask them without reference, what their mission is. Enough of them do not even know, without reference, what their values are. And for some reason, it appears that many people do not even know why they put up those values, besides for people to see. You see, they do not even own those values. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah. So that is one way. When we are bringing up people, when we are recruiting people into our teams, it will be very important for us to get to their hearts and to know whom they really are. In my first employment, they took a very long time. It was a small employment, I would say, with very little money. But the recruitment process was very rigorous, to the extent that the final level, we were put into a team, a sort of an outing that had a team building component for a whole weekend. But they just wanted to know, how do we respond to crisis? How do we respond to problem? How do we deal with each other? How do we achieve results? Are we just goal-oriented, or we have steps, or what type of people we are? So it's very important that we get to know exactly what type of person do I want in the team. Thank you very much, Elsie. Yeah, Dr. Eda?
Yeah, for those who are recruiting, one of the latest methods of job interview is taking this person out for lunch. And that's where you really get to know somebody's personality around food. Is usually their personality in real life. And so the person thinks they're just having a treat, or the group of people think they're just having a treat because you're a rich organization. But they're people who are observing their behavior around food. So people who come probably from a background of lack and are very greedy will be piling their plates. The way you just behave around food will show your level of refinement. And so actually, there's a lot of psychology around food that people are discovering. because people they can get experts to make their CVs look very beautiful. And another thing they're also looking is your social media posts. Like I said, all these off the cuff, the kind of things you post will definitely tell if you're really a genuine person or not. And you can post like you're from the liberal, radical, progressive left, and you like posting things about LGBTQ, how love is love, and and yet you're a conservative organization that says marriage is a sacred union between a man and a woman. So this kind of person will definitely not fit into your organization. So there are many different techniques people are using. One of them is checking your social media presence. Another one is seeing how you behave around food. There's some CCTV. They also, they were actually part of the interview was seeing how you interact with people. So they would put coffee there and see who would be ready to get up and serve the others. And yeah, that's kind of leadership. Do you just serve yourself, or do you make sure the others are comfortable? Ask them how much coffee they have. Because these are the things which will come out later in the organization. Okay, you might not get everything, but there's so many things that you can get in these different kind of job interview techniques. Yeah, thanks for letting me share.
Thank you very much. You brought in a very important aspect. I remember reading that one way when people want to make business relations, business deals, they relate with they try to get out with the persons they want to be in a deal with, and that is most of them even go for golf. That in a golf pitch you will be able to know the character, the inner person, whether they can cut corners or they are people who are diligent. And I read that amongst the golfers that they will go and play golf with you. They will ask you for golf, but the main idea around that is, how are you going to handle crisis? How do you do your things? And out of that, they will know whether they can do business with you or not. So that idea is very, very interesting. That is one way we can address such situations before they arise. And all of us also remember that not long ago, the Ministry of Tourism appointed somebody to, I don't know whether director or something, and then out of what was posted, out of what she posted in social media earlier, something was able to make her be revealed as somebody who is really not standing for Kenya, who cannot brand Kenya or something like that. And many organizations have used that. Today, another way they use is headhunting. Headhunting is where they even go to your LinkedIn and try to trace you and just do background check, and then by the end of the day, call you and ask you if you would be willing to join their organizations. So that is something very important, Dr. Ari. Thank you very much. Patrick, would you like to say something?
Good morning, everyone. My take would be the culture is very important, and that every person selected together with the present members in the team, we should have one culture so that we move in one direction, bearing in mind our vision and our mission. That's what I would say.
Yes, I think it is the setting of the culture which is important, and the question is, how do we set that? Thank you very much. Thank you. Welcome all the new people. Welcome, Rachel. Good to see you today. And so, Maurice, that which you are typing, you can say it so that we hear it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Actually, for me, I wanted to pose a question related to this, because sometimes it is very good to, if you are in a position of power, you are in a position to do like what we are saying. You are able to check out potential employees and just to see whether they are fitting and their behavior and stuff like that. But there are also situations where you get in and you're going to work with professionals, people, some of them might even be more competent than yourself, and you are the one who's leading them. So in some occasions, you might feel that they are the Judases because maybe they're reporting you to the boss that maybe you're not performing well, or they're doing things which are better than, they're doing it better than yourself. So my question is, how best do you handle professionals or people who might be competent in areas that you as the leader are not, without thinking that they are Judases? Or even if they are Judases, but they're very, very good, and they are people whom you think are very useful to the organization. How best do you handle them? Because you don't want to lose them. Thank you.
Thank you. Maurice, I think that is a very lovely question. I don't know who would like to say something about that. Yeah. Melvin, are you able to talk? Or you are still on the road?
I can talk. What I'd like to say is that, as you rightly put it, all these mission statements and visions and what are they called? Core values. They are not even espoused by perhaps the people who are interviewing a new entrant into the team. So my take is, like Dr. Eda said, we must find another way of assessing these people. And as Morris has written here, you could watch how they behave when you have taken them out for a meal. And also, I must underline the fact that we need to check on their social media presence. But another thing is their writing style. How do they write? How do they communicate in an email, for example? Because there's a current crop of Judases outside there. You can tell them by how they write. Are they polite? Are they respectful? Are they mixing sheng in there? Are they mixing stuff? How do they end their email? So that's my take about how to assess the suitability of somebody and to point out red flags as we induct them into the team.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I would also like to have somebody respond to the question that Maurice just raised. You have more competent people, senior, whatever, in your team, you are leading them. How do you handle that in a way that it doesn't appear like they're undermining you, their Judases or whatever? How does that play out? Very interesting question.
I don't know whether that probably exposes an institutional flaw, because the person who is designating the jobs of managers and supervisors needs to really check the credentials of the people and find out, the supervisor must always be more qualified than the people under him, I think, because they will not respect you. I remember being given in a new hospital that was starting out, I was given the job of supervising nurses. As the clinical coordinator, my job should have been to supervise only the doctors. But they put the nurses also under me. So because I have a master's degree and I was able to do the same work as the doctors, so if a doctor doesn't come on duty, they just call me and I do the call. So the doctors respected me because they knew that I was somebody who could do the work, and I was one notch higher than them, having a master's degree. But the nurses were very upset with having a doctor in charge of them, because if a doctor is, if a nurse is not available, I can have an idea of what their job description is. Because when for example, when I come for a ward round, the patient is always very clean. The bed has been made. But me, myself, if the nurses went on strike, there's no way I would know how to clean a bed, to make a bed when the patient is sick, and how to turn them, and how to, make them presentable for the doctor before the ward round. So I think it was a very big mistake. These nurses became very resentful towards me, and I didn't understand why. It's because I didn't understand their job description. Okay, I knew what they did, but I've never been a nurse, so I didn't understand the challenges that they face. We're supposed to complement one another. So the person who was supposed to be in charge of nurses was supposed to be a senior nurse. That's my take.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, I'd like to give it this approach. Monica, you want to say something?
Maybe you can go first, then I can ask a question like that.
Oh, okay. Then let me just give it this approach. Remember, when we are growing as leaders and we are becoming our best, leadership in itself is a calling. Yes, it's a calling. And take, for example, a CEO of a big organization. You cannot know every component and become very efficient in it. So that is why a leader wants people who are more competent than he is or than she is. A leader should be excited to have people who are experts in their domains. And your work is to ensure that they can become their best. And if we hinder this, then we are going to experience, we are insecure leaders, and we will not be able to grow much, because we will try to thwart every effort of growth that a member is trying to make. And so it's important that we learn how to deal with, experts. It's important to learn how to become a leader to people who are more capable than we are capable, because that is actually our role. We want them to grow and become their best. And in your case, therefore, what you need, one is there should be personal development, perpetual personal development, which will help you. You need to learn how to build relationships. I love saying that every relationship in a team is unique with the leader. Just like a parent, you'll realize that every relationship that you have with your children, every child is unique. It's a unique relationship. In a team, every relationship you build with every member is a unique relationship. So find a way to make these people become very excited to do what they are doing and to keep going for their best, in order that they will keep making the team better, you see, while they work together. So it's a very good thing to have people who are more competent than you, and it makes your work easier. All that is left for you is for leadership, the leadership role, to govern the ship to where it should be. Somebody is an excellent accountant, somebody is an excellent financial manager, somebody excellent in IT, whatever. Remember, yours is to bring all this together. And this is why this book is called The Making of a Symphony Orchestra. You want the best guitarist, the best oboist, you want the best vocalists to be here, you want the best drummist and everything else, everybody else. But then in order to bring them together so that they work and produce the ultimate goal, that is your role. The work of the orchestra conductor or the orchestra director is not to sing for the soloist, is not to outshine the person who is playing the trumpet, is not to outshine anybody, but to bring all this harmony. And remember, if we have that trumpet loud, too loud than what it needs to be, then it will be felt that it's out of order. Now, your work is to ensure that everything is within order and everything is running in harmony, in a symphony, and that's why we are making the symphony orchestra. So one is encourage that development, find a way to build that, find a way to build relationships that will be able to help them to grow and make a better orchestra. And that also means, remember we said that a leader is a generalist. You need to have a little grasp about everything so that you are not, you cannot be cheated. You can always give an idea. For example, we say that leaders need to understand financial statements. Yes, so that when you have an accountant will not be speaking Greek to you. When they are explaining, you may not be able to make it, but you are able to interpret it or understand when you are given that statement. You should be able to understand a grasp about maybe the IT department, a grasp about maybe HR, a grasp about things. You have just a grasp. You do not have to know everything, but that should enable you to give proper leadership, because yours is to ensure that people are moving towards that direction they should. And that includes keeping the mission intact, keeping the vision intact, and the core values, the culture, and the production is going on. I don't know whether that answers you, Maurice.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That is very elaborate.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Monica.
Yeah, that was super elaborate and I've learned a lot. Then my question was, and I'm asking these for purposes of learning, because I'm going through that challenge. How do you deal with these members of the team who have stayed in the organization for so long, and they have stayed in the organization for so long because they started the organization when the organization was growing, but they didn't grow their capacity. So they can be promoted, but they can't do like technical work. So the organization has to hire people from the outside. So someone has stayed in the organization like for 10 years. Then number two, they are older than you, like 10 years, 15 years. Then now you are their team leader. And then your supervisor, she's not around because of two things. Of course, COVID. Then there are these people they organize, they're not based like in the project area. Because for me, like I work with an NGO. So you'll find like sometime maybe I feel like they're Judases, because maybe they'll report you to the supervisor, or maybe when they're discussing something or something is being done, maybe you might hear them say maybe, this cannot be done. We are not really sure. Can you give us time to think about it? You have trained your level best to encourage them, support them, incorporate them in the team. Then you'll find like the supervisor tells you guys, like sends an email, like tells you like, hey team, do 1, 2, 3. Then who is the team here? Nobody will do it. But because it's in line with my job description and it's in line with what I do, maybe I'll do it. Or maybe because of personality of those people, some are super, they're super hyper. I'm forgetting the name of that personality. You'll find like they'll go ahead, do it, bypass everything, but they don't do it right. Then you'll find the supervisor will tell you, please, this work was not done right. Can you go ahead and do it? You know, so then maybe if you do it, they'll go behind your back and tell other members of maybe other program, other team, so and so does everything. She does not give us a chance. So to some extent, I feel like they're Judases. Then I don't know if I'm the one who doesn't know how to deal with them. Then number 3, and I'm saying this with a lot of humility, you might find those people, maybe they are there because the organization started with them and they are very crucial. I really appreciate what they do. They know the history of the organization. They're very supportive. They help you to know where you are coming from and where you are going. But to some extent, you feel like, I'm not calling them deep state, but you might find like, you might be afraid to do some things because you don't know what they will do. Maybe when they can go beyond your supervisor, report you maybe to the CEO or maybe a lot of stuff. So I wanted to ask the team, like, how do you deal with such people? And is it about competence? Is it about like what you've said, like you develop a unique relationship with them? I don't know. I'll need help to hear like how to go about it.
A very beautiful question, very questions in this case, yeah. We might not call them deep state, but maybe they are deep. So thank you very much, Monica. Somebody wants to say something about the same? Yes, John?
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, I joined a little late. I was in another meeting. And to comment on that, I believe this is what most of us, if not all, have gone through in different capacities. As we are either groomed to be leaders, or as we grow even in the space of work, you realize that I've personally experienced the same, because you join an organization, you'll definitely get people there. And then maybe because of your credentials or because of your attitude and work, you get a promotion. And you would find people who you think would want to bring you down in certain circumstances. I think normally the best approach sometimes is to try and opt them into what decision you want to make, in terms of even questioning, asking them for help, or bringing them to use that, to turn that negative energy into positive energy. Because you'd find somebody who is hell-bent on saying, this is how we've been doing it, this cannot work, as the sister said. But you'd find that when you come up with a new idea and you don't behave like you're owning up to the benefits when it comes to pass, then you find that these people also tend to want to like you. Of course, a few will not, but then again, you put it like it's a team effort, where you ask them, this is what we are supposed to do. How do you think we do it? As much as maybe you have a direction that you want to give them, but then you put it like a meeting, where a meeting of minds, and then when you come up with a decision which maybe you already had in mind, but you will have taken input of what they also had. So my thinking is normally is that you try to involve such people in the decision making, so that at the end of the day, if somebody feels like they want to report you to your seniors, and it will be something that they also participated in, where they know that the outcome is team responsibility and not a personal responsibility. Because you'll find that when it goes well, so many people would want to ride on it, but when it goes bad again, they will really come for your neck. So I think involving people, or this team who appear to be the insiders, helps in terms of getting the responsibility shared. That is my thinking in terms of leadership for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's beautiful. Any other comment on the same, because we are running on out of time? Then I will comment. Any other inspired thought? Yes.
A brief one.
Yeah.
I want to be the devil's advocate, sort of.
Yes.
I think
yes.
maybe I may not be answering Monica's question. I'll try to, okay, in a minute. I think the character we are describing this morning and last week is a personality issue. I would look at it as like a sort of psychopaths. There is not much you can do about it. And to be honest, we need these people in organizations. They are calm, they are cool, they are collected, they are brilliant, they get things done. Organizations are created for those things. To get things done, it is results. But of course, the question of how does it get done creeps in. And like you say, values then are playing. I am one person who doesn't believe in most of what are the techniques being used by HR, because they hardly work. You see, people being asked for, I don't know, DCI clearance or whatever it is. As we speak right now, this morning, as I speak, I came from a previous employment. I know you know where I am, definitely. I know someone who's been hired in that organization, who was in an organization I was in previously, but they were involved in fraud. They have been cleared by DCI, they have been cleared by whatever, but there's a lot more that needs to be done. Personalities are hard to crack. It cannot be detected over a meal in a day. you could quickly probably point, because people are experts at playing out, acting out. It's been perfected by a number of people. But staring at you in your eyes, it's quite easy to pick some of these things sometimes. I like the way of going social media. Look at a person beyond what is being presented over a meal. Look at a person beyond what is being presented over an event in a weekend. And that's why I think I'm a proponent of referrals, because if you have a character that you like, and it's a perfect culture fit for your organization, it's a lot easier to ask them to recommend. The technical skills are out there in abundance, I guess so. And some are also cooked in abundance again. But bringing the two together requires a lot more, and it is a continuous process, because like now, the organization I work for probably allows us to continuously point out these issues or this kind of characters. We do not want anyone losing their job, but if you know someone did something somewhere, then they are likely to do it here. And so that if an organization inculcates a culture of continuous improvement, continuously equipping and continuously retraining, then it works. Now back to the question I said, it's a character issue, personality, not character. We can't change personalities. Characters, yes. Now, if you have such personalities, if you detect them early, the better. But if your values allow you to have them because they're very productive. To be honest, they change the organization. Most of the time, they have changed the organization for better. They agitate the status quo because they're brilliant. They keep thinking, but they can throw you off guard as well. You want this kind of people, you want this dynamism. Now back to Monica's question, in one statement, maybe one word, allow the team to own the successes, even when you do the work. You attend meetings, you hear people saying, I. That points, when you hear someone, a leader or a team member who keeps talking about I, then just know that's a red flag. If you allow people, we, and if possible, mention them by names, even if they did that little thing, recognize them, it goes a long way. People will get to appreciate. And before you know it, they're participating. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. In conclusion, I'd like to say the following, and not just to Monica, but to everybody else. One way of streamlining a team is we need to ensure that we build them at the core. We need to help people to identify their life purpose. People can be chasing after ambitions, but by the end of the day, they are still empty. And those are people who might become very dangerous. It's good to help people to discover themselves, self-assessment, self-awareness, so that they become their best. And ourselves as leaders, we are involved in building these people. We can find best fit. Maybe somebody came in as an accountant, but they are more of a front office person. We do not have to stick to their certificates. We can find where they best fit and they will feel more rejuvenated and be on our side. We want to win these people to be on our side by producing the best, but again, also being loyal to the team. Kendi has talked about feedback. It's part of what we can always do. Suggestion box on what can improve. And then we need to have team meetings, regular meeting as part of our system and general culture. That maybe on this particular day we meet, and just to share something and brainstorm. We could be taking breakfast together, but then we are sharing where are we at, what am I going through, what should we do together to achieve particular goals. Making such regular meetings become very, very critical when we are building a common goal, we are building a common team. We must make our people to be so happy and proud of our team than any other team. That is the way it works, even in building, developing soldiers. They must be soldiers in your army, and they are loyal to your army. We should be having team building occasions where we just do some things that are not related to our work, but help us to know each other better. The other thing is we have to learn to recognize our people for whom they are. Recognition in this case is giving them recognition. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. We are told that. And they will always remember how you make them feel more than what you did for them. So affirm these people. Most of the elderly, you see, they have some background they are coming from, and they have some experience they believe you do not have. So first is to recognize them, and it's always good for a leader to have some sense of humor, some degree of humor. You make these people feel at home and recognize them for whom they are. When you are addressing them, you tell them, I know you are the most senior here. You can guide us in this. How do you think we can go about this? You may have gotten some experience before that we are not advantaged to have at this moment. They will, by mere recognition of people in front of others, mentioning their achievements, when you are talking to them, talking about them in front of the team, mention what they've done before. You know, this was the first person to, at the start of this organization, these were the people who are there. So they are very critical. They are our pillars, and we hang on their shoulders to reach where we want to reach. These people will really feel good. So you must win them on your side by recognition, by affirming what they do right. When something is wrong, we leaders must learn the language to speak and how to correct that. That is something that is totally missing for most leaders. The language that we are going to use to help people to correct. And most people know, or because they read it, but they've not learned. I call it the language. People may know the system, or sandwich, they call it sandwich. Start with good, end with good, but they don't practice it. But then how do you put this start with good and end with good? One of the ways and one of the books that I would recommend is How to Make Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This is the way it works. I love the way you do your work, and even the way you come early. You are dedicated, and for all the years you've dedicated into this organization, God alone will be able to reward you. And I think, now get that, the word is and, not but. And I think it will be much, much better if you could also learn this one, so that it adds into your skill box and experience and something like that. Be the one to take responsibility. This is a long topic. We may not be able to finish it right now, but those are some of the things you can take care of. Respect them. Let them feel that you respect them. Yes, you have some degree of respect for them. And there is also the personality issue, which you can recognize and choose to keep with them. I love the way Trump put it in one of his books when he was dealing with one of his executives, whom he knew is a crook. But he hired him because he was efficient, but he had heard that he's a crook. So when he was hiring him, he told him, this is what I will pay you plus everything else you will steal from me. You see, from the onset, you make fun out of that. I know you are not very straight. You can steal from me. That's okay. So I'm going to pay you this plus everything else you are going to steal from me. And every other time they were meeting, then they were saying, okay, so this is what you've done. How much have you stolen? And it becomes sort of a fun conversation. So you find a way to win these people on your side and always be somebody who can accommodate them. I'd like us to probably stop there for now. It's an exciting discussion. I would love us to go until 10, but we always have a promise to keep that it's up to 8:15. So thank you very much. I believe I'm not cutting anyone outside. Good to see you, Daniel. You can say hi. Rachel, you can say hi. Those are the people.
And OPP.
Yes.
I think we need to have a session on deep state, because you cannot dismiss it as a non-issue. Around any center of power, there's a deep state. There's what they say is the official chain of command, but there's always something called the deep state, which is the unofficial chain command. And these are people who are around the center of power, who the center of power trusts. And they're the ones who run the organization in actual fact. So you can't dismiss it as a non-issue.
We can't dismiss that. And personally, I learned it in college that, and I've played deep state, by the way, yeah, where you do not want to be the leader in front, but somewhat you will control the process. And we used to call it in college for fun. We used to call it, we want to rule from the periphery. Periphery, nobody will see you, but you have a control of the outcome that will come out. So that's there. And as a leader, you need to handle all that. There are leaders who are put to represent the deep state. You are there so that you can be used. And that is the reality. We can discuss it at another time. Thank you. Is there, okay, I think most of the people have said hello. We can close. The discussion is interesting. Let's have a session on deep state. Maurice, yes. We will choose when to discuss this, maybe after the last chapter. We can suggest topics after the last chapter, which we will discuss maybe every week. So let's close it there. Somebody can pray for us. Give